So it is the end of the second week, and I feel like I'm adapting pretty well. I worked 94.5 hours this week. So my body's a little tired, but I got some good rest over the weekend. And it ended up being that at my other job, the way the paychecks line up, it's every other week that I'm not getting paid already by my first job. So now I'm getting paid every week. My new job's pretty demanding. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I have a bunch of scrapes, cuts, bruises, because I'm picking metal parts like elbows, clevises, hardware to attach pipes to walls, stuff like that. Last week I picked like 1,800 of the same item and I had to count it by hand. So I'm basically just repeatedly punching vats of steel for 8 hours straight at the speed that I work at. On Thursday, we had tornado warnings and supposedly hail the size of, I think, golf balls, they said. And I took a really neat video of what the sky looked like right before that was about to happen, but it ended up actually blowing over us entirely, so I didn't see any of that. I actually ended up moving my car that day and to a spot where it was covered on all three sides. I backed it in between a dumpster and a trailer that we just used for storage. Then a day or two later, we had a dust storm, which was interesting. I've never seen one in person, but I also took a video of that. I know the capabilities of the phone camera are insufficient in providing a clear image of what this looks like in person. And I don't know, it was really cool, really windy. So I started sharing these videos on my social media, which is something I wasn't planning on doing. But now that it's already happened, I've actually received a lot of overwhelming support, which is appreciative, and I appreciate that. Also, these videos seem to be reaching people that I don't even know now, because they've gotten an incredible amount of views. Not like seriously incredible, but more than expected. Some people commenting that I don't even know, and I'll address some of those with this video. Shout out to Tina. I heard that you're watching my videos. Celine is a hard worker. Got my first letter this week from my older brother Zach and his girlfriend Carolyn. Very sweet. Thank you very much. I'll be keeping that right here in my passenger side visor. Seriously, guys, if you have my my phone number, text me for my address. I'll send it to you, and you can send me a little picture or a note of yourself. I'll keep it in the car and read it whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed out. So it looks like I got two different kinds of red lights. These are my dome lights, one for here, one for back here. My thinking is I'm gonna change one of the bulbs on each side to red so that when I'm sleeping in my car somewhere where I don't want to be discovered, I can use a red light if I need to see anything inside the cab, because it's less visible from the outside. I'll leave the other ones alone. That way, if it's during the day, I'm not being annoyed by having to use red light all the time. Or, you know, if it's a night where I'm in my car, I need to find something and I'm supposed to be where I'm at. I got this to load up my quarters for the coin laundry, so I don't just have a bunch of loose change rattling around in my bag. I got a long draft stopper that you put at the bottom of doors, and I'm going to be putting this on the windshield at the bottom whenever I have the sun blocker in. There's still a line of light that comes through the bottom because the top of my windshield is tinted, but it's not at the bottom. So this is just to block out the rest of that light whenever I don't want it coming in. I started getting a can of Lysol, keep it right here in the cup holder. That way every time that I take off my shoes, I can spray them. And that basically just kills any of the bacteria that might have been building up with my sweaty socks and whatnot from working on my feet all day. I learned that trick from my roommate Miguel, actually. Whenever I'm in the car taking a nap on my break, I've started hanging up my socks on the bungee cord so that they can dry out as well. I've started keeping my keys attached to the windshield wiper arm on the steering column, because there was a day when I woke up from a nap and I couldn't find my keys, and it was so fucking hot in the car, I was panicking. I've decided, since that I barely use my lockers at work anyway, what I'm going to start doing is the food that I ration out for that part of the day, I'm just going to start keeping them in my lockers so I don't have to keep constantly going out to my car and fumbling through that bin back there. You know, with my phone flashlight on, it's really annoying. If I could just organize both of my lockers and keep my food there, it would make it a lot simpler. I've basically split my food into 2 bags, and then when I go into work tonight and then tomorrow, I'll just carry the bag with me inside and fill out my lockers, and I'll do that weekly. With all that extra room I'll be saving with the groceries being stored in my respective lockers, I can store a lot more of the stuff that I have just kind of shoved behind the seat here. That way, if I'm taking a hard turn or something, it's not moving about the cabin anymore. I've also began monitoring my weight on a weekly basis to see how this new diet's going to be affecting my body. I just use this freight scale at work. It's very, very accurate. We use it to weigh entire pallets, and obviously, if you don't know anything about logistics, part of what goes into the pricing of how you ship something is the amount of weight it is. So it's incredibly accurate, and they come in and they calibrate it like once a month probably. Also, I found a new laundromat that's closer to everything else that I go to. You don't have to use quarters. So I kind of bought this for no reason, but I'll probably keep it in case of emergencies. Or when I'm traveling on the weekend, maybe I can find a place that has billiards tables and I can win some money off of some suckers. They have a system there to where you just have like a membership card, and you load money into a machine and you swipe it, and it just loads the money onto the card, and then you use that at the machines. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I think I figured out what happened with the sock and underwear missing fiasco. The only explanation that makes sense to me is that there's some sort of non-Euclidean temporal void somewhere in this car that things disappear into. Because I went to the gym to shower, and I had 2 skivvy rolls left, and I was about to use one. So I took one out of my bag and put it somewhere in the car. And then when I came back, I couldn't find that skivvy roll anymore, and then I've checked the car and it's not here. The only other explanation that makes sense is there's some sort of fantastical, mythical creature, like a nymph or a gnome, that's just stealing them and fucking with me. Now, to address one of the comments that was left on last week's video, I believe. Why am I doing this? It can basically be broken down into 3 basic principles. Number 1 is to save money, obviously. Working 80 hours a week at minimum has increased my monthly income significantly. And I've reduced my spending to about $200 a week. So I'm saving a lot of money. I'm still at the beginning of it, where I'm climbing this hill to where I'm spending money to make living in my car more comfortable and sustainable. But right after next week, I'd say it'll plateau and I won't be spending any extra money anymore, and I'll be able to save most of what, you know, I'm not spending on regular weekly expenses like groceries. After I hit that plateau, these videos are probably gonna become a lot more boring in content, because I won't be making additions to the car at all. It'll just basically be a summation of the week that I just worked. So I'd like to spend the weekends going out and doing something different and exciting so that I can, you know, video log that and give you guys some better content. I also ended up getting a tripod / selfie stick. When I get a little more accustomed to this routine, probably in a couple more weeks. On the weekends, I'm probably going to be traveling about, maybe hit up some outside towns like Rockford, Aurora, Naperville, find some things to do, some people to meet. So if anyone actually lives in the Illinois area, leave me a comment, let me know some fun things to do in any of the, you know, the cities or townships surrounding Chicago. The reason I'm saving money is I have tentative plans to essentially buy a U-Haul or like a box truck and then insulate it and throw a solar system on it so that I can move out of the car and travel around in my box truck, you know, picking up any kind of work I can, you know, find some new experiences, find some inspiration for my art. Probably going to be outfitting it with most of the equipment I need to start recording some of the music I've been writing over the past 10 years. And I also have, you know, plans beyond that, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch or ruin any of the surprises that I have for my friends and family in the upcoming future. Still trying to figure out the logistics of it, but basically I'll be sending all of the stuff I need to outfit it to my friend Ryan's house. And then whenever I purchase the vehicle, I'll just drive it down to Kentucky and we'll knock it out over the course of a week. Secondly, is a philosophic principle known as asceticism, not to be confused with aesthetics. And basically what it amounts to is I introduce stress and hardship into my life on purpose. That way I am better adaptable and I'm quicker to adapt to situations that are out of my control whenever they arise. It's very good for my mental health. I'm always searching for a struggle or a challenge. And it basically sets your life up to give yourself small victories over time. And what that does is it helps you build confidence, more and more confidence over time. So that when you are faced with something like a grander project or a bigger experience that is stressful, hard to manage, you are more able to approach that with a cooler head. I think it was probably around 2017 or 2018, I began basically minimizing all of my physical possessions and doing weird things like, you know, not sleeping in a bed. I did that for years. I slept either on the floor or I spent an entire year literally in a closet in my room. Basically had all of my stuff in one corner and the rest of it was just vacant. I did that for a really long time. Then around 2019, I believe, I started experimenting with, you know, fasting for a whole week or cutting out some of my vices like refined sugars or alcohol consumption. I've basically learned through my experiences that most of the limitations that you have are imposed on yourself. You know, it's all in your head. If you train yourself to work outside of your own expectations of yourself, an entire new world opens up. So my advice for you is to wake up every day and do something that's physically demanding or difficult. It could be something as easy as going to the gym, trying out a new diet. I highly recommend fasting for a whole week. You might think you might not be able to do it, but I promise you, you can. You possess the most adaptable and persevering, you know, mind-body of any other animal in the animal kingdom. And to not use that to your advantage almost seems like you're wasting God's gift. And thirdly, it kind of puts yourself in the perspective of, you know, people who are less fortunate. And it helps you appreciate and understand the things that you take for granted in daily life, all of the comforts and securities of Western civilization, or just civilization in general. Final note, I believe it was J9 that left a comment asking about vitamin supplementation. And I've basically steered away from that, mostly because a lot of companies use, you know, cheap resources to manufacture those vitamins. And when you get those vitamins as they occur naturally in nature, and the other chemical compounds that are with them help you absorb those vitamins better. If you just synthesize those nutrients and those vitamins out of the natural substance, your body doesn't always absorb it perfectly. Plus, before I even set off on this venture, I planned out my meals pretty specifically to hit all of my nutrition. Big shout out to J9. He's got a baby coming very, very soon. Actually, it might already be here. So that about sums up this week. If you got any other questions you want to address, leave them in the comment section. I try to read those. It's obviously not at an overwhelming point right now, and hopefully it never becomes that way. These videos are mostly just for my friends and family. But who knows, the great God algorithm might bless me or something. Keeping you all in my heart and my mind. Love you very much. Check back next week for more details.